Let's observe the Johnson Wax administration building from an environmental history perspective, but also from the point of view of human interactions. Because when we are talking about environmental history, we are talking about the study of human interaction with the natural world over time. And we can also observe it from an architectural perspective. 200 kilometers from Chicago, on the shores of Lake Michigan, lies Racine, Wisconsin. It is a corporate offices and research laboratory designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. The Johnson family has been making wax and other household products since 1886. In 1935, Hip Johnson, the young heir, was 36. He wanted to give the company a modern image and build new offices for his employees. It is one of the American architect's greatest masterpieces. It was an early American firm to introduce profit sharing, together with improved environmental conditions, could be subtly combined so as to overcome the contradictions of capitalism and inaugurate a new golden age. It may be argued that it is not only the greatest piece of 20th century architecture realized in the US to date, but also possibly the most profound work of art that America has ever produced. It was a concept, in fact, that introduced an entirely new tectonic and spatial discourse into 20th century architecture. The world's most modern office. One of the first examples of a contract project with innovative furniture made by Wright and the Metal Office Furniture Company.
In 1936, Johnson asked Wright to build an office building in the rubble part of his old factory, an office building in an ugly and unhealthy suburb.
It is in an industrial zone. Visual and tactile linkages to the surroundings are modest since the urban location lacks the natural context that Wright values so much. The site has no trees, but with abundance of scrub brush and cactus. The land was unable to absorb much water when it rains and there were flash floods. It is a modern construction that is analogous to a living form in nature. Despite some complex characteristics of the locations, Wright was able to align the structure to its environment.
Wright's goal was to create an ideal, natural atmosphere to the office work, guaranteeing the importance of comfort, enjoyment, and happiness of workers that the client asked as one of the priorities. Wright and his client weighed important decisions concerning structural materials and environmental controls for structures. The building concept as an organic whole was important in design as the mechanical systems were important to their structure. But this was against the idea which is based on the use of passive strategies.
The structural and environmental systems were important to Wright's overarching vision of contemporary architecture as an organic form in which all parts of the building, spatial, structural, material, and mechanical, were a unity. The glass tubing was originally meant to provide the only lighting in the main workroom. However, artificial fluorescent lights were eventually installed between the inner and outer layers of tubing to improve illumination without detracting from the streamlined architectural impact. The roof has both environmental benefits and drawbacks, but due to the unusual design, the ceiling could not be used for heating or air conditioning for other building services. The brick wall was also an important part of the environmental control system. This construction approach comes with advantages and disadvantages in terms of the environment.
Wright used brick in an unresting continuous facade without a traditional opening. The bricks were also involved in a gorgeous concrete floor slab. The white stone trim and white diniform columns create a striking contrast. A low-level entrance is where people first meet with the three-legged columns, the same as the great workroom, but shorter. The entrance is located in the center of the building, which is the car park. It was indispensable for Wright, who assumed that car park was part of the architecture. Skylight constructed of Pyrex glass tubing on the roof fill the gaps between the rings of the columns. The glass tubes extend up, over, and into skylights and the corners of the building, producing a clear starry impression and allowing light inside. It is considered one of the biggest symbols of the modernism and capitalism in America at the time. The capitalist image was due to company and working environment, but the modernist image was due to unusual organic form and technologies. In the course of time, the definition of the modernism changed with it. After all this time, and in the future, would it still be considered as a modern architecture?
The beginning of the 20th century also witnessed a change in architectural taste. Since nature was hardly present, Wright would recreate nature on the site. The problem was the industrial urban context, and his solution was integrating organic form. A beautiful, pure, and perfect American image was a dream of the Johnsons, but also the comfort inside has been their priority. Streamlining trends had arisen at that time, and streamlined buildings feature arbitrarily curved walls and applied ornament to achieve their effect. The Johnson building's streamlining is more profound. Most specifically, its detailing represents a complete integration of structure with natural and artificial lighting systems. These solutions are way ahead of its generation in terms of how it interacted with the environment and users. That's why Johnson Wax Administration Building is one of the most environmentally oriented buildings in the history of architecture and is one of the greatest masterpieces of modern architecture. Message for future historians: the trend towards modernism should be considered according to the timeline in which the design is existing, as the technological materials are evolving.